Well, I am finally back with a new tutorial. I know it's been a long time coming. I've been promising something for quite a while, and I've been working on it among other things, trying to organize my life a little bit to be able to put this out here for you. But we are finally ready to get started. And I think this particular tutorial should answer a good majority of questions. Probably not all of them, but it'll at least give a good baseline for all of the new people to FlutterFlow, and it will greatly expand upon your app development for those that want to kind of dive into the more complex regions of developing an app that is both efficient and sustainable and scalable when you're looking at growing your app from a couple of hundred users to a couple of 100,000 users. I've spoken with a lot of people since I started doing this, from tutorials to app development for clients, and a lot of the people that I've come into contact with have at some point or another admitted that they came into FlutterFlow believing that it was going to be a piece of cake. Just kind of toss some stuff together and then deploy it to the App Store and you're good to go. And they realized after they got into it a little bit that there's a lot more to it than the way it's kind of marketed. So if you are at that stage, then you're not alone. Pretty much everybody reaches that point in time somewhere along the way. If you're new, welcome. FlutterFlow is great, but you need to be able to adapt and learn some more things to app development to be able to have an efficient and capable app of supporting a lot of users and be able to be efficient and fast. So with that being said, I've been putting this tutorial together for quite some time. All the different pieces to it. There's a lot that's going to go into this tutorial. I will definitely cover the ins and outs of FlutterFlow for those of you that just want to stick inside of FlutterFlow, whether you're new or you don't really care to dive into the more complex stuff. Then you can kind of dig out the pieces of this tutorial that's relevant to you. But for those of you that are really looking to expand your capabilities, then this is going to be the one for you, and this is going to be a lengthy one. So obviously it'll be broken up into sections. But I went ahead and I created, let's see here, let me grab, moving the wrong window around. There we go. Created this. It's kind of behind that. Get that out of the way. Just a simple little kind of mind map here. Hopefully you can see that. What we're looking at. Get that a little bigger. Okay, maybe you can see it. I hope. But it's kind of outlines what we're going to go over in this tutorial. This is just a broad overview. We will dig in much deeper into what these things are. But obviously at the center of that mind map, we've got the FlutterFlow app, which is the centralized area of what most people are probably concerned about right now, especially those new to all of this. But some of the things that we're going to go over, we'll start from the left. So code, that's going to be custom code for widgets, actions, and functions inside of FlutterFlow. This particular app that I'm going to develop for this tutorial is going to use a healthy amount of custom code. It'll have a lot of functions, actions, and custom widgets. And kind of on that note, thinking about those custom codes, obviously in order for that aspect of this tutorial to be relevant to you, you would need access to those codes. Previously I had posted them just kind of in a file share and made them available that way. But I'm not going to do it that way this time. I kind of thought about the best way to handle it. a lot of these codes have taken me quite a bit of time to develop. Some of them not so much, but quite a few of them have. Some of them are proprietary to projects that I'm doing privately, so I can't actually share some of them, unfortunately, but those are few and far between. Most of them I can share. And I think the best way to make those available will be through my Patreon, which will be launching soon. Instead of piecing the codes out and selling them individually, just do it through a Patreon subscription. It won't be very much per month, and you'll get access to the codes for this tutorial as well as a plethora of other codes I'll be making available over time on that Patreon, and more in-depth tutorials covering various complex scenarios and things that we'll be doing inside of FlutterFlow. So if you want access to the custom codes, those will be made available before too long. We'll also be looking at efficiency for the app, so we're going to take advantage of state variables, app state, page state, component state, and constant state. So we'll be going over those, best way to use them, best way to make them applicable to your app, and how to manage them appropriately. And also managing memory, something that is overlooked quite a bit. FlutterFlow doesn't really talk about it, and most people new to app development have no idea that you do have to properly manage memory, especially when using custom codes, specifically the ones we'll be using. Otherwise, you could clog up the device's memory and cause your app to crash, which is a very bad user experience. So that'll be something we'll be looking at as well. And then, of course, the UI and UX, which is user interface and user experience. So we'll be going over design, layout, and optimization. So that'll be primarily focused inside of FlutterFlow for all of those looking to better optimize your UI and UX. And then over there to the right, for our database, we're going to use Firestore. I have been on the fence with Firestore back and forth as to whether I like it or don't like it. As a NoSQL database collection document structure, especially intertwined with FlutterFlow, given the fact that they connect pretty seamlessly, and it's kind of super user friendly. So I highly recommend to use it if you're new. Highly recommend to use it for MVP, and if you are able to take advantage of the various steps that I'm going to outline that you can see on this mind map, you can use Firestore as your primary user-centric database, so long as you're utilizing these other aspects to offset some of the areas that Firebase lacks, such as storage. I would not use Firebase storage, at least not with the default settings and the default buckets. You can go into Google Cloud and optimize storage and utilize Google CDN, but it becomes extremely expensive. Google's products are pretty pricey, and the Google Cloud interface is extremely complex. So we're not going to go that route. We're going to use something that's a little bit more user friendly. But yeah, we'll be using Firestore for our database, and I'm going to show you kind of best practices of how to use it so that it's both cost effective for you as well as fast and efficient. And we'll also be taking a look at security for your Firestore to make sure that you have your Firestore secure. And then authentication, we're just going to use Firebase authentication because again, it's just kind of right out of the box. Don't have to do a whole lot. And for this particular tutorial, that's just going to be the simplest way to go. On my Patreon, I will be going over setting up your own auth server and using some other authentication services, some third parties that are out there, which would be my recommendation for a very high level production application. But that's just me personally. If I were developing a really large project, that's what I would do. But for, kind of a personal project getting started, or even a project that's handling several thousand users, Firebase Auth is perfectly fine. I mean, their security is good. Um, they have industry level encryption, so you're good to go with it. And then Cloud Functions, Firebase Cloud Functions, we'll be using those, quite a few of them. We're going to deploy using Node.js, so kind of walk you through how to use Node.js and write in JavaScript. Not hard, but I'll kind of walk you through how to set up the Firebase command line interface, the CLI. Kind of go over the brief configuration of your project, how to start a functions project using the command line, how to set up your index file, and how to write essentially that code, and then of course how to handle any errors using ESLint. Because you are going to most definitely throw errors when you try and deploy. It's pretty much inevitable, but there's a pretty fast way to solve most of them, and then you can handle the others manually. And we'll also look at deploying scheduled functions. We're going to need those for this particular app that I'm going to be building. And we're going to look at HTTP functions. So scheduled are those that run automatically and independently of any sort of user interference. And then HTTP are essentially like API endpoints, but they're very lightweight because functions can only do so much. They can't run a whole lot of heavy packages. And they also don't have a very large window of time to live. So they're kind of small, lightweight, quick things that happen in HTTP functions are those that are called directly by a user action. Or an app action, doesn't necessarily have to be a user, but so we'll go over those as well. All right, so now let's go down to the bottom section. This is where we're going to get into some more complex stuff. So for those of you that are new, you may not want to dive into this yet. You're welcome to watch for sure and learn some stuff, but don't get overwhelmed with it. It definitely can be overwhelming. For those of you that are really looking to expand what you're doing, you're going to be interested in seeing what we're going to do here. So we're going to start off with machine learning and artificial intelligence. So we're definitely going to be deploying that. We're going to set up some API endpoints on a custom server. And we're going to utilize ML for content recommendation algorithms so that we can recommend stuff to the users based off of their like history. And we're going to use machine learning for style transfer protocols. We're going to use that primarily for images. So I'm going to kind of show you how to do that. It's pretty sweet what it does. I've been playing around with it a lot. It's really cool what you can do with it. We can also apply style transfer to videos, but the computational resources to run it is ridiculous. You cannot really do it on a system that doesn't have any sort of GPU capability, and GPU systems are extremely expensive. So I might show you how it works. It's pretty cool, but it's not exactly deployable for the average person by any means. So, but style transfer to images is, you can do that on a CPU efficient computer server setup, so it doesn't use too many resources there. And then we may also look at like an LLM for or a large language model chatbot type thing, see if we can kind of integrate that. Think ChatGPT as an example, but what we'll probably do is utilize OpenAI's API and create our own assistant and kind of define the training parameters for it to make it app specific to what we're doing here, and then we'll tie its API endpoint and specific calls into our app to make it relevant to what we're doing. So, all right, so that takes care of that one. And then in the middle there we've got web proxy. This is going to be a front-facing web server. It's going to have an HTTPS connection, an SSL certificate to a domain name. It's going to be our front-facing kind of our entry point to our backend services where our ML and AI systems will be supported, our API endpoints, things like that. We will have them sitting behind this web proxy so that web proxy will ingest incoming API calls and then redirect them to our API endpoints based off of relevant data from the incoming call, such as making sure that the region that it's coming from is allowed, making sure that the IP address isn't blacklisted, and then of course also handling API keys, making sure they're validated, and handling the rate limitation. So if we want to limit the rate of calls that can come through per minute, things like that. So that's what the web proxy will be utilized for, and we'll go over setting that up. The web proxy is also going to be our load balancer. So if we have a significant amount of load coming in that's trying to hit, let's just say the machine learning API, we've got like 2 or 3 nodes deployed for that purpose. The web proxy will balance the load of incoming requests to a node that is available, so we don't overload any one of our nodes at one time and thus cause anything to kind of crash or get bottlenecked and shut down. And then over there, last one is FFmpeg, which is going to be our transcoding language that we're going to use for video. We are going to utilize some video content in this particular app, although it's primarily going to be focused on images. We will utilize some video to kind of showcase how that works. And FFmpeg will be used primarily for transcoding video and audio. So you can do an audio overlay or an audio replacement. So if you have music and you want to merge it with the video's original audio, or if you want to replace the audio entirely, adjust the audio levels, things like that. So that's something we're going to look at doing as well. And I'm also going to demonstrate with FFmpeg how to extract thumbnails from videos, although I will also demonstrate how to do that inside the app using custom code, but there's some limitations to it because of limitations through FlutterFlow. So it's good to have both options. Doing it through the app is faster, for sure. It returns the image way faster. But again, it can make your app file size larger because FFmpeg's package is pretty big. And again, FlutterFlow has some limitations regarding Android, where you can't use the FFmpeg package inside of Android. So you can only use it for iOS. And therefore, being able to extract thumbnails server side is a useful thing to know how to do. Okay, and then lastly up top, we're going to look at storage. Again, we're not using Firebase storage unless you are using Google Cloud to optimize your storage buckets and segregate them and have hot, cold, archived, and edge storage, as well as compression, resizing, and chunk delivery, which you can configure all of that in Google Cloud, but we're not going to use Google Cloud for this, so we're not going to use Firebase storage. It's expensive and it's slow. So we're going to look at using some external storage buckets. We're going to set up the APIs for those and the tokens that we need for that. And we're also going to look at volume storage, which volumes are going to be for servers, which isn't going to be used for our media. Our media is going to be stored in buckets. Our volume storage will be used for well, we'll get to that at some point, but it's going to be used for content that's stored on the server but isn't necessarily delivered to the end user. And we'll also look at disk management as well. And then we're going to look at CDNs, content delivery networks for your media content, your photos and your videos, to make them faster, to make them edge available so that it's made more available and closer to your end user. Kind of go over what it is, how it works, and how to set it up in conjunction with your bucket storage. Backup and recovery. A lot of people don't think about it, they forget about it. It's super important, so we're going to go over it both for Firestore as well as your storage buckets, your servers, capturing snapshots, point-in-time recovery. Just in case something crashes and goes down, you can recover quickly. And setting up failover protocols. So if one of your servers goes offline, how can we redirect traffic to a different server and get it back online quickly? Similar concept with Firebase, Firestore, but Firestore, their availability and uptime on their side is pretty solid. Firebase would have to take a direct hit to really affect your Firestore collection, but it's always good to have backups in place and redundancy protocols in place just in case. So we'll go over that as well. And then lastly, security. We'll be looking at API key generation and proper protocols for storing those keys. Never have your API keys stored directly inside of your app. Bad idea. So we're going to look at best way to handle that, which will be used in conjunction with Cloud Functions. And we'll also look at just the configuration management for your config files, make sure that everything's secure. So yeah, that's a massive quick rundown of what we're going to be doing here. Let me close that out. Hope you like my picture. AI generated that for me. I thought it was hilarious. Anyway, let me just scoot that out of the way. I don't really need it anymore. How do I close that thing? Sorry, yes. Okay, there we go. Cool. All right. So, that's what we're going to be doing. Massive. We're going to go through it, all of it, every bit of it. The app itself, I mean, it's gonna be a good app, and it's gonna be a complex app, but we're gonna do our very best to make it as efficient as possible, limit the number of pages that we have, optimize our page flow so that we don't have to have a ton of pages. And what we're gonna do, I was thinking about this, and I think the best way to handle it is I'm going to work this tutorial all the way through to the point that I can deploy it. And I'm going to deploy it to the App Store to show that it got approved. It's up there. It's working. It's available. Now, whether I keep it up there, I don't know. I probably won't, but we'll at least get it up there. And then if you have like an Android, I might make the APK available if you want to download it and play with it a little bit before I shut things down on the back end. So but that way you can see that everything that I'm going to show you is actionable, usable, that you can actually get the app in your hands and play with it. So, all right, so let me go ahead and make this one bigger. If you've been building already and used Firestore, window sizes don't fit very well together here. But yeah, if you've already been doing this, building already, there we go. You've already deployed Firestore, then this is kind of redundant for you. But we're going to set it up just really quickly. I've got a brand new project here for this, and so we're just going to go ahead and get it set up here very quickly as we get started on this particular app. So if you haven't done this yet, if you're brand new to this, then here you go. So obviously you go to firebase.com, create your account, and you go ahead and create a project, give your project a name, assign some analytics to it, diagnostics, let it create, and this is where you come to. So so then the very first thing, then I feel like I'm missing something here. Okay, yeah. Sorry. Things usually not collapsed on my screen. But anyway, so project overview, settings, project settings, users, permissions, and I'm going to add another user, and I believe FlutterFlow has now made it so that you can like do a one-click deployment from FlutterFlow, which I tested that the other day, and it seemed like it didn't really actually do anything. I feel like I still had to come in here and set most of this stuff up, and it just took a long time. I could do it much faster. So you want to add FlutterFlow as a user first of all. So it's Firebase at flutterflow.io, and you want to go ahead and assign them the editor role. Add the member. Wait for that to finish real quick. Go down here to advanced permission, which I don't know if you can see that. I feel like my screen is cut off here. Let me do this real quick. See if I can. My screen sizes are not the same here, unfortunately. Maybe you can see it now, I hope. Okay, maybe you can see that. But down here, advanced permissions, this little button down here. So click on that. It's going to open up your Google Cloud into your IAM permissions. And we're going to go down to Firebase FlutterFlow. So it's the account we just added, and we're going to edit the permissions for them. Already got editor in there. We're going to add another role and just type cloud functions admin. Add that one, and then add a third role and scroll all the way down to, let's see here, I'll go to the S's, service accounts, drop over here and grab service account user, and then save that. All right, so that's all you need to do there. So you can close that out. And I can see we got our roles in there, okay. And then over here in build, let's just go ahead and activate authentication real quick and get started on that. And we're just going to use email and password. Turn that on, enable. Okay, that's good to go. We're going to do Firestore. And I'm going to do NAM5 United States, so it's multi-region inside of the United States. And I'm just starting production mode. Okay, that's good to go, so you can leave that alone for now. And then let's see here. We don't want storage. Manage that outside of this. We may play around with some extensions. You don't have to really do anything with functions. You do have to upgrade your project, but as far as like actually configuring anything, you don't really have to do that. It'll configure itself when we're ready to deploy. Let's see. Engage. That's not what I want. Where is it? Huh, where'd it go? I'm looking at it. Oh, yeah, app check. Go ahead and turn that on. All right, so we got all this stuff taken care of here. Organize those a little bit. All right, so that's pretty much everything we need to set up there. So now to connect it into your FlutterFlow project, we're going to go to project settings, and we're going to grab our project ID. And then I need to get this screen out of the way. That's out of the way now. All right. Let's see here. And let's go to our project and go to our settings in FlutterFlow and go to Firebase and paste your project ID and connect it. And we'll just go ahead and auto gen here. So let's just give it a different package name. What was I calling this? SnapApp, I think. Yeah, I'll let those generate real quick here. Let's see here, and we're going to manage our storage outside of FlutterFlow. Handle that ourselves. Okay, let's go down here to authentication. Go ahead and enable that. I'm going to use Firebase. We don't have any pages set up yet, so we'll just leave those empty. And go up here. All right. Should we get all of our stuff set up in here? Set up app check. Which will probably do this in a little bit. I'll worry about that right now. And we are just deploying to Android and iOS. We're not going to worry about any of those others. But I do want to disable iPad support. We're not going to use that. Let's see. Okay. Should be all good to go at this point. All right. Jump in here. I'm just going to go ahead and create a users collection. And I'll just click yes and get some of this predefined data here. Okay. I'm deleting all of this stuff. Turning that off, turning that on. All right, so hopefully you should be able to see my entire screen here now. I'm going to go ahead and close this guy. Get him off the screen. All right. So now, first things first, let's see here. I'm going to go into my colors. What do we want to use here? Okay. I am turning that off. I don't want to use that. Just going to use light mode theme. Okay. All right. So the app that we're going to build then, we're going to build a short form kind of TikTok style swiping feed. We'll have some video, but we're not going to just focus on video. We're going to have images as well. And we're going to set, or rather, we're going to enable users to be able to set timers for their content for how long it can stay up before it disappears. Or we might just make it mandatory. I don't know yet. Figure that out. But something that you will notice as I go through this is every time I create a page, whoops. Every time I create a page, I am never going to use any of this. We are always going to create a blank every single time. When I do a component, I might use this one just to get a kind of a brief template. I'll delete everything out of it and then kind of fix it the way that I want it to go. But as far as pages, they're always going to be blank. So get that off the screen. Let's go ahead and set up our folder structure here. Yeah. So we'll have main, and then we'll have user or users. And we're gonna have components. All right, so we'll do that for now. Let's drop main in there. Get rid of pages. Okay. All right. So we do need an auth page. Well, we need an auth page. I think. Let's see here. For our auth page. We'll come back to that. I don't feel like doing an auth page right now, although we need it to be able to configure authenticated user. but I'm not overly concerned with it. Let's just go ahead and build the main home page out. This is probably the best part anyway. Another thing, we're not going to use the nav bar. We're going to build our own nav bar. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself some parameters here so I can kind of see where things are going to lay out. And then the first thing I'm dropping is a stack. That's where we want to start. And then in that stack, the very first thing I will drop there, which, let me first go over here to my background color, and I'm going to set it to something darker. Okay, that'll work. All right, now I'm going to go to my stack, and I'm going to drop a container, and then go over here to our alignment and go ahead and center it at the bottom. And I think, well, I may have a floating nav bar on some of the pages, but for this specific page, because we're going to be using page view, and page view won't extend all the way to the bottom, our floating nav bar won't look quite right. So we're actually going to use a bottom fixed nav bar, and we're going to set our width to infinite, and let's see what our height is, 100. Just leave it as 100 for now. We'll probably change it here in a minute. And then in that container, go ahead and drop a row. We'll center real quick, and we're going to do our start spacing at 12 and our end spacing at 12. And then our item spacing, let's do 10 for now. See how it looks. And then we want to set that alignment at the top, and then set padding at the top to 12. Oops, not 120. You won't be able to see anything. 12. All right, and then we will grab icon button. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Set that to 45, and then I'm going to set this to 28. And we're going to do a home icon. Yeah, we'll do it as a home icon. Sorry, I was just thinking about something. And duplicate. Actually, yeah, I do want to do that. So I'm going to put a column in there, and then I'm going to put that in there. Just actually delete that real quick. And then take some text and put it in this column with it here. And we're going to set this as home. Change it to 12. Actually make our icon 30. All right, now we can change this. Our container height, we're going to change it down to 72. So we're going to have to go up with it. Which, since I'm going to have home in here, and that button puts a massive amount of padding around the icon, just go ahead and get rid of that entirely and just use an icon instead. Okay, now we can, oops, drop it by 10. Yeah, that works. And let's increase the size to 28, and now set it as home. Okay, cool. So now we'll grab this column and duplicate it. Duplicate and duplicate again. Yeah, spacing isn't enough, so I'm gonna actually get rid of that and just space evenly around, so it'll give us what we want there. Okay. Now I am going to do our little button here for posting something. So I'm just going to drop a container in the middle of that row between those icons. I'll make that quite a bit smaller. It's too small. Still a little small, but we'll work with it here. Just a second. And we can round the edges. Do that 16. And I'll give it an elevation of 2, and then we're going to change. Actually, let's do gradient. Change that to 12. It's a little too rounded for my taste. Let's see. All right, cool. That'll work. And then we want its child widget to be centered. All right, so for its child widget, let's just duplicate this and then stick it on top of that container. And let's get rid of the gradient for that top one. And then let's pad it. And we're gonna pad it by like 4. Actually, let's do independent padding here. So let's do 4 on top and 4 on bottom, and then let's do like 6 and 6 on the sides. And then let's change its rounding here to like 6. Yeah, that looks better. All right, and then its child is already set to center, so let's grab an icon. Set it to 18, and then we're just gonna do like an add button or an add icon. It could probably be a little bigger. Yeah, 22 looks good. Okay, sweet. All right, so that's taken care of. So I do want to actually space these out some more, but I'm not gonna do spacing. Well, yeah, I will do spacing here. Do 20. All right, so that gives us some room to work with here. So let's go ahead and change this icon to a person, user. And then this one, I don't really know what all I want to do here. Let's just do like multiple people. Actually, let's do group. Let's do that one. It's too small. All right, we'll just do people. Okay. And then this, we're gonna do what I want. Right there. Okay, cool. All right, so now I actually want to set this. We're going to change this. Let's do make that black. Probably should have done all this before now. That would have been smart. So I could set all this in the theme settings. If you like to use the theme settings, more power to you. Some people do. I tend to not, because my theme changes quite a bit as I'm going along, depending on what I'm wanting. So I don't typically use it for my personal stuff anyway. Cool. All right, so that's set up. Very nice. All right, so the next thing that we want to do then, let's see, we want to grab our stacks. We're going to do something that's going to require custom code on here, which again, be happy to give you access to this code if you want to use it, show you how it works on my Patreon. But we're going to utilize the swiping effect, which I could show you another way to do it. So first of all, if you've ever used TikTok, you know that it has like some options up here. I think, you know, there's like your main feed, and they've got some other stuff. Maybe shop or something is up here, and you can swipe back and forth, or you can tap them and it'll take you to other pages. Since we're going to be using page view widget for the up and down swiping, you cannot, inside of FlutterFlow, you can't stack a page view inside another page view. You'll throw an error. So you can't have like side-to-side swiping and vertical swiping, page view inside a page view. And then if you use like a tab bar, like this, and then you put your page view in here, which you can do that. You can drop a page view like that and do your swiping like that. But the problem is that your content, your video, picture, whatever, does not go all the way to the top of the screen like like TikTok does, and your tabs don't overlay your content, so it doesn't look quite right. It's not extremely professional in that regard. You could kind of try and rig it if you wanted to, and do it like this. So you could keep that, and you could, in theory, get rid of this, get rid of that, get rid of that, and change, let's see here, this to, it's not going to do it. You would have to actually do transparent and get rid of that entirely. But you're still going to be down here some. You're not going to be up there where you want to be. So you could try and do margin, but that's still not going to get you up there. Could do it at the bottom, like that. And then you could do, let's see here, we want to scoot. Let's see, where are we at? Get rid of that, so I can kind of see this thing. Just not letting me stack that properly. Let's get rid of some of this here. Get rid of that. Okay, I've already got rid of all of it. Okay. It's still not letting me do that. Let's go here and bring that to the front. All right, so now it's where I want it to be. Okay. And then there's something in here that's in my way. Oh, yeah, I guess there is. There's text in there. Okay. So you could do it like this. Got a gap here, so let me change the color so we can see that gap. You can see there's a gap running right here. So really the only thing we could do, I don't think, no, that may not be set to, it's still not going to drop it down far enough. I don't want to do 100%. So we do have our gap. I mean, you could just have the background black, but still you have a little bit of a gap there, which doesn't look great. You could always scoot that up. If you wanted to do it like that. Ooh. Oh. And just make sure those edges aren't rounded. So it is possible to do it that way as well. So anyway, you could do it like that if you wanted to. You may run into some weird conflicts doing it that way. Some weird behavioral issues. Whoops. But it is possible. I don't know where my nav bar is turned on at. Just do it that way. So let's actually get rid of it. Get rid of that. And we need to get rid of that. So I'm trying to decide if I want to do it that way. You got your tab bar. Let's see if it's going to cause any sort of weird behavioral. Yeah, that's right. I got rid of all my tabs on there. Oops. And you probably couldn't see that anyway. Let's do this real quick. I'm gonna add a tab. Just checking real quick to see if I have any strange behavioral issues, which you can't see this unfortunately, but it seems like it wants to work. Okay. So it is possible to do it like that if you want to. So yeah. So if you want to stack, then if you want to use a tab bar and then put your page view in here and do it that way, now you have swipe left and right. You'll need to handle your states pretty well with that so that you don't have a whole lot of controllers active at one time. Otherwise, you'll be running into memory issues, like I stated. The other method that I was going to show you, and honestly, we may try this method again. I don't know how well FlutterFlow is going to handle the state management between tab views, especially since we're going to be querying quite a bit of content inside of these tab views, and also having up-down swiping along with left-right swiping. We could see how it works, and it may work fine. In which case, great. But the other method that I was going to show, and maybe we'll just create a separate page for it and try that one too if you want to use it, is actually the controller widget that I'll be using on here. The custom widget has swipe controlling to be able to swipe to actual other pages, not just between tab views. and it utilizes the navigation programming inside of FlutterFlow, and you can call up your pages as they're defined in FlutterFlow and navigate to them via swipe indications, left to right swipe, right to left swiping, and you actually call up some imports from inside of your FlutterFlow project to be able to do that. It's a good way to handle these sorts of things anyway. But we could certainly explore this, see how well this will work for us here. If you want to try and keep as much of the custom coding out. Let's see. I'm going to get rid of that though. So we'll just kind of roll with it here for now. See how this goes. Now, obviously, you're going to want to have something up here to indicate what page you're on. So we would have to go here to our top level stack. Try not to tab bar. I don't think. Let's think about what would look best in that regard. Yeah, it'd probably be the top level. So we go to our top level stack and we can add a row. And best way to handle this, instead of like dragging it down here somewhere, positioning it, which you get variations in where it's going to land. Let's see what the different sizes going on here. There's another way to handle this. It's a little bit more efficient. See that one's super close there. So what we could do, which would probably be a better idea here, would be, let's get rid of that. Look at our stack. Let's do a column. Let's go ahead and put that sucker, keep that up top. Put it in the middle and get rid of your main axis size, and let's put it up there at the top. And then in that column, I'm going to put a container, and you can extend its width all the way out if you want to. I do it just for convenience sake. And then also in that column, we'll put a row. All right, so this container is going to act as our spacer. And so kind of best way to determine what's a good size for you, just go ahead and set something. So like, that's 15%, that's way too much. 10%, still too much. Do 7%. And so you can go through your different sizes here and kind of see how that looks, see if that looks good for you. Wherever you want to keep that at. Looks like that's going to be that one. So I'm actually 5% is too much, too small. It's a little bit too high. So I guess 7% may be the winner. And then go down here to your max height. Or I'm sorry, what am I talking about? Just go to your normal height. Don't go to your max height. Go to your normal height, and you can go to global properties, and you can do fraction of screen height. I can do that. I'm going to do fraction of screen height. We're going to set it to 0.7, so 7%. So that way, this container will adjust to the screen height. All right. So now we got that taken care of. So now we can center our row here. And then we can, let's drop a column and some text. And we're going to do a divider. Just change its color real quick so I can see it. Set its thickness to 2, and then its width. I'll do it to 45, that'll be fine. pages, which I'm just going to do. Yeah, I'm just going to do 2 pages here, so that's good. And then I'm going to space them 25. And then our main page, I'm going to do discover. And then our secondary page is going to be recommended. I guess would be fine. No, it's too long of a word. Let's do for you. That looks better. Set that to 35 instead. And we'll space these out some more. 240. Okay. So we're going to leave that alone for now. All right, so that's all good to go. So next thing up then, we're going to drop down into our tab bar. We've got a single tab. Actually, we need 2 tabs. So I need to add another tab here. Get rid of the text in there. And then in this tab page, I'll also add a page view there as well. So it's not going to work. What am I thinking? It's not what we want. Crap. Okay. That should be transparent. There we go. Sorry about that. Forgot to change that when I was there, so let's go ahead and change this. Let's do that to white. Do that one to white as well. Okay, so I'm going to leave this picture here as kind of a placeholder so I can see, because having just a white background is tough to see. Okay. Alright, so that's all set up the way I want it to be for now, and so let's go down, let's see here. This next thing I need here, I need to go to this page view. Yeah. Okay. So I need my custom code for this. Which I don't have. I don't think I have it inside this project because I just created this project. So yeah, I don't believe I have that. Let's see. I need to locate that real quick. Let me see if I can find it in my files. Where's this at? That's not what we want. Okay. All right. I guess I've got it stored elsewhere. So let me go back here. Go ahead and drop this in here real quick. I want to drop a column in to my page view, which both page views need to have a column. So I actually need to get rid of, let's see here. Get rid of that. And that one. Get rid of that. And that needs to have a column as well. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead disable this so I can remember. So this is going to be the discover view. And this one will be the for you. Keep track of these here. All right, so I do need my custom code before I can really do anything else with this. Let me grab that. Just a moment so I can grab this real quick. I need the dependencies here. And now grab my custom code real quick. This is the custom code for the video player, by the way. Oops, wrong video player. Oops, that's not the right version. This one. Refresh that real quick. Okay, I guess I did not save it. Great, thanks FlutterFlow, appreciate that. Okay, so let's go and do this again. Because apparently FlutterFlow doesn't know how to save what I'm doing. It's kind of obnoxious. Let's try that again. I guess let's not refresh it because FlutterFlow did not like that. Alright, let's see here. Maybe it took those imports. Alright, looks like it did. So I'm going to go ahead and compile it real quick. And we'll wait for this to finish compiling. So since we are going to be testing out the concept of using tab view with page view, Then obviously, like I said, we're going to need to handle our states pretty well to ensure that when you swap over to a new tab, you don't have your video continuing to play. We are going to be using visibility detector inside of this code. You can see the dependency there, which it is currently set to 50%. So if the video is outside of 50% view, it should pause. So we'll see how well it handles that. All right, so that's good to go. So let's go down here to our first tab view, page view. Let's see, which I'm debating on how I want to do this. I'm iffy on using, because column's not gonna look right. Let's get rid of the column for now. Let's try this a different way. So go into your first tab view here, which is going to be our discover view, into our first page view page, and go ahead and add a stack in there. And then in that stack, start off by adding that custom widget that I just created. And we're going to set height and width to infinite. You can see we've got this little seek bar down here. Okay. I'm going to change this back to a dark color. Make it a little bit easier to see. All right. Try that. We do need to go in here and create another collection for our video posts or our feed posts. So I'm probably going to do let's just do feed posts. And we'll have a date for when it was created so we can sort them. Uploaded by reference, be a reference to the user who created it. I'm going to do content type. We're going to set it as a string, and we'll configure that here in just a minute. And then let's do video URL. We're going to set that to a string. Don't use video path because we're not using Firebase storage. I'm also going to do photo URL. And that'll also be a string. And then let's do description. Hashtags, which would be string array or list. Liked by users, which will be document reference, reference users list. Okay. So we don't have to do unnecessary queries. We're going to do comment count to just keep track of it here. Less queries, the better. All right, and I think that's good for now. All right, so let's go back over here and go ahead and make sure all this stuff's set correctly. So we want to get the page view that's containing this widget and set a query for it. A query collection, and we're going to query feed post. And list of documents. And we don't need that. Well, shoot, got to come back to that. And do date is decreasing, order by. And we're going to do infinite scroll. Let's leave that as 25. So now, while I'm thinking about it before I forget, I do want to go in here and set it is draft, and I'll show you later on what that's for. We're going to set that to true false. Just leave that alone for now. Okay. And then we can assign video URL here. Like that. All right. Okay. So here's where I want to see how well this is going to work. So what we're going to have is somebody can either upload a video or they can upload an image. So I'm going to, in my stack here, which I wonder, maybe not. It's tough to say. We're going to play with this. I'm going to put an image inside that stack. And go ahead and set infinite on both. And then obviously copy this. And set the path to the. Oh yeah, that's right. Shoot, I'm not using a custom widget for this. I forgot. Okay, so change photo URL. So we're not going to use a custom widget for the picture because there's really no reason to. And just change it to image path. It'll be fine. Doesn't really matter. Kind of something stupid that FlutterFlow does. I don't know why they do it that way. So now we can do photo URL here, and I am going to set a default variable. Just make sure we have something to look at. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to set conditional on this. We'll do a single condition, and we're going to do feed posts. Content type is equal to, we'll just do image. I can get that out of the way. And I just wonder if that's going to be a problem. Uh-oh, that's going to be an issue there. Okay, so I'm probably gonna have to work that in, or place this thing inside of a container. That's what I was wondering. Shoot. Okay. Let me extract that out of there, and I'm actually gonna drop a container in here first. Set that to infinite, and clear the color on it. Let's put this inside there. Now, turn this off. And now my container I should be able to change here. And do content type is equal to video. Quick, and I'm going to change the stack here, so I'm actually going to put this guy, get out of the way, on top. Well, maybe. Oh, where'd it go? What's the problem here? Oh, I was worried about that. That should be right. Got it backwards. Yeah, it was confusing. This image is actually behind here. It's just that the TechPlay widget, the video widget, is transparent until there's a video actually present there. So that kind of had me confused for a minute. But yeah, that's actually the way that we want it. So that's good to go. All right, now let's actually going to go ahead and set this back to invisible for our image. Collapse that. So this is going to be our, I want to change this. Not that. I want to change the name of this stack to media stack. So I know what I'm looking at there. All right, so go ahead and right click on the media stack and just completely extract it out of there. Because the way I did that, we want to do something just a little bit different. So we're actually going to add another stack and now paste your media stack back into that stack. Because here we want to add a column, and we're going to scoot that sucker over to the right. I'll go down here like this. And pad it from the right by 10 for the time being. And let's just go ahead and get something in there so we can kind of see what we're working with. So I'm going to do a container, and I'm going to make it round. And I'm going to do that at 50. Yeah, 50. And I'm going to make its child center. And do a circle image in there like that. And then we'll pad all the edges by like 3. Oh, no, I think I just grabbed the wrong thing. Yeah, I'm on the container. Need to grab the image. And pad it. 3, that's too much. Let's do 2. Okay, good. That works. Okay. I do want to bring this down, so let's do like 100. Work. And then we can do our other stuff here. So I'm just gonna do that, which we do want to have spacing between them. Something in here for now to fill it so we can see what we're working with. Yeah, I don't think I want to do an icon button for that either. Just do an icon instead. We want some more spacing now between them. Let's do 24 or 30. That does need to be bigger, so 34. Too big. 32. That'll work for now. Duplicate that and duplicate again. This spacing is a little much between all of those, so I'm actually going to drop another column in here and then do it this way. So I'll keep these kind of organized here. That'll work. That'll work for now. I have to make that smaller to make it a little bit more consistent. Same with that. Cool. That works. Fantastic. So let's go ahead and see how that looks like that. Good deal. And then of course, let's just finish it out real quick. We'll call it quits on this tutorial. This one been going for an hour and a half. Good grief! I realize I've been doing this for so long. We're just on page 1. This is gonna be a long tutorial. I hope all of you have great stamina. I'm working Discover View. So we want to, let's get rid of that. Oops. Give me that. No, come on now. Give me that. Alright, I'm going to scoot this down here. That. Dang it, I just moved that again. I did. Shoot. There we go. And clear the color, and then we want to put a column in there. Let's see here. And we want the alignment to be at the bottom. And from the left. Okay. Okay. It should work. Now let's do, let's see here. It's kind of in the way. Shoot. Need to this. I just need to scoot that up some, get out of the way so I can work here real quick. And so I just dropped a wrap in there, and then I'm going to stick that there. Choose that. Should do what I want it to do. And then just kind of for relevance, well, we can go ahead and tie this stuff in, I guess. Not a big deal. Okay. good. All right, so let's tie this data in real quick, and then we'll call it quits on this one. So let's grab our whole entire stack inside the page view, and go ahead and do a document reference to it for users. And from the feed post document, we'll do the uploaded by. And that way we can grab their photo here, and we can also grab their name down here and not have to have multiple queries. We do it all in one query. Make it more efficient that way. So we will tie this to the user's photo URL. And then this will be their name. This is going to be the feed post date. This will be the description. And this, come on now, grab the wrap here, and then we need to do dynamic children. I'm going to call it hashtag, and then from our feed post, we're going to grab our hashtags here. And then we'll set this to our hashtag item. Now you can see that wrap will wrap it down like that. I guess we'll do an underline, that's fine, whatever. Might change the color of this thing to make it stand out some. Figure all that out at some point. Reduce the spacing a bit though. Okay, that'll work. All right. So yeah, that looks pretty good. I think that'll work for now. Throwing a couple of errors, nothing we're too worried about. Turn that off. Get that out of there. Auth page or auth page setups. So yeah, that's all good. Don't worry about that. Okay. Oh, and I want to set this. I want to do it here, which do a single condition on that divider, and let's do tab bar current index is equal to 1, and then over here single condition tab bar current index is equal to 0, and then need to grab tab bar initial index. Don't think that's gonna save. I don't believe. No, it's not. Okay. So we'll pass that in as a state variable. I guess we could set it as a constant state. Let's do feed tab load. Set it as an integer. And we'll set that to 1. I should be able to handle it that way now. Go back to the tab tab bar, and we'll go down here to our initial tab index, and we'll grab our constant state here, feed tab load. So that should load us into the tab index number 1, which is going to be our Discover tab, which should reveal that for us. Okay, cool. All right, so that's it. This tutorial is 1 hour, 35 minutes long. It's a long one. I need to go to bed. So we've got our initial things set up here. We'll, on the next tutorial, we'll basically just copy this stuff over into the For You page, but obviously our query data will be different because it'll be recommendations and how it's being aggregated to the user. So yeah, I think what we'll do then for the first sections of tutorials, we'll obviously do some stuff in it is in Firestore, but we're gonna create collections, obviously our collections, documents, things like that, define our fields so that we can fill out the UI UX, but primarily what we're gonna work through in the first tutorials is building the UI and the UX. We're gonna focus mainly on FlutterFlow and custom codes inside of FlutterFlow, and get our UI UX built out completely, and then we'll start plugging in like custom functions and configuring where and when we should cache data, and handling our variables and things like that. So yeah, I think that'll work. So we do want to make sure, of course, that our forget. Yeah, we want to make sure that swipe scrolling is able to switch tabs. You don't want to keep tab state alive though. Would not do that. That could mess with things that could cause audio to carry over. Even though we've got visibility detection turned on, which keeping tab state alive would be great, because it preserve your place. I don't know, we might have to play with that. Problem is that I've found that when you try and keep a state active using something standard inside of FlutterFlow, it tends to conflict with custom widgets, especially since my custom widget is already designed to handle state changes specific to visibility. Right now, again, once this video player leaves 50% visibility, it's going to pause the video. So it's already maintaining an active state in essence. But if we enable that, keep tab state alive in FlutterFlow, it could potentially override that visibility detector, which means when you swipe over to the For You tab, your video from the Discover tab may continue to play, which would be really obnoxious. And it could also potentially cause the app to crash if you have too many video controllers running at one time. So we'll just have to play around with that, see how best to manage that inside of FlutterFlow so that we can have the best user experience while also not overloading the memory of the app and crashing things. So yeah, we'll play around with this one. All right, that's it for this one. Hope you kind of enjoyed it, and yeah, we're gonna keep chugging through this one, show you a lot of cool stuff that we're gonna do. It's gonna be pretty sweet when we're done. All right, have a good night.